As I gazed from the deck at the surface of what ought to have been a pristine ocean, I was confronted as far as the eye could see with the sight of plastic. It seemed unbelievable, but I never found a clear spot. In the week it took to cross the subtropical high, no matter what time of day I looked, plastic debris was floating everywhere. Bottle caps, bottles, wrappers, and fragments. Captain Charles Moore is the sailor who discovered the Pacific garbage patch. In this interview, he explains the horrible discovery of the problem with plastic pollution in the ocean. It is unnoticeable and unknown to people in urban areas, but it is a worldwide issue. It is important to know what the garbage patch is, how it formed, and what people are doing about it. I will be explaining to you the negative effects of ocean pollution in the Pacific garbage patch. So what is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Floating junkyard in the North Pacific Gyre, and it stretches from California to China, and it's 10 million square miles. Captain Charles Moore discovered the garbage patch in 1997, and since then he's been trying to raise awareness, and in an interview he talks about the discovery. The discovery for me was not so much, well, I'm in a garbage patch. It wasn't like an island of trash like people keep wanting to say. It's just that I couldn't survey the surface of the ocean for any period of time while standing on deck without seeing some anthropogenic debris, something that was human in origin floating by. Not necessarily a large something, but just something. He explains that the pollution is not necessarily bottles or a bunch of plastic floating, but it's just small debris everywhere. And he does experiments, and he'll get a jar and just put it inside. And then he just sees all the plastic little debris, like on the one at the top right. And then after like a couple of years, like he did one in 2008, and then one recently in 2011, and the plastic is, there's more plastic in the water, plastic debris. So it harms the animals in the ocean because they mistaken it for food. And there is now 6 times more plastic than plankton. And many fish in the ocean rely on plankton to survive. How it formed. There are 5 oceanic gyres. An oceanic gyre is a large system of rotating ocean currents. And those are the 5 ones. The North Pacific Ocean Gyre is the largest ecosystem in our planet, stretching from China to California. It has a clockwise rotational pattern gathering trash from coastal waters of North Pacific shorelines, waters from North America, and Japan. The material circulates and gathers in the middle, and it takes 15 years for garbage to get from the coastal area to the middle where all of the garbage is forming. Yeah, in a survey when asked about the plastics coming from various oceans, Captain Moore answers, it's basically turning the beaches of the world into plastic, especially those that are the first to see it in the sky. The human archipelago and other islands in the North Pacific, instead of having sand made of coral, lava rocks, and other rocks and shells, now we are having beaches made out of broken down plastics. And what people are doing about it. Since it is not visible to one, people don't pay attention to it. Fish are eating the plastic, and we are eating the fish. There are several organizations that try and raise the awareness of this, and one of them is called Project Casey. And they explain their goal, and here's a quote from their website. It says, our goal is to understand the metrics of what is there, how some of it can potentially be removed, and what can be done about it once it is removed. Of course, prevention is a key aspect to this equation, as keeping from getting to the ocean in the first place is critical to helping improve our ocean's health. So, in conclusion, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a problem that humans are creating on Earth unknowingly. There are organizations trying to help, but most of the people are not doing anything about it, and the animals are being harmed. Like that turtle up there, it had a piece of plastic when it was a baby, and then it like grew into it. And then there's birds that there you can see in their body, they just have plastic, and they're eating plastic, and animals get caught in it. And so, don't trash the ocean, because it's a beautiful place, and it's a home for fish.
Taylor, you here? What'd you think?
All right, well, you're just going to have to wait a second for my opinion then.
Okay, well, I thought that the attention device was very nice. You had a good dramatic quotation. It's very descriptive. You identify what the topic is, and I thought that worked really well. It did seem a little strange to me that you had a preview of the content before you got to the specific purpose statement. Both of them, though, were clearly identifiable at the beginning of the speech, so everything is set up really effectively. The material in the body of the speech, a lot of it seems dependent upon the one captain that you're citing who discovered this, and there's a lot of information that is presented there that I thought you cited that pretty effectively, but there was some other information that I think needed to be explained and developed a little bit more, and some explanation about how they got that information would be appropriate. For example, you've got a quote or a statistic at one point that there's 6 times as much plastic as there is plankton. I'm going, okay, well, who said that? How did they figure that out? That sounds like a pretty dramatic piece of information, and if it's true, then it makes the level of what you're talking about even more significant, which seems to suggest that you ought to spend a little bit of time giving that some context. But it basically rushes by in your presentation, and it needs a little bit more development. I thought that all the visual stuff was integrated into the speech very effectively, that you set up the topic well with the first image, that you've got some good visualizations to really kind of define what you're talking about. I thought that the map showing the convergent zone was very effective at showing how it collected there in the middle of the Pacific. The dramatic images of the animals on that last one, I thought did a good job showing what some of the consequences were there. The main criticism that I have is that it sometimes feels like I'm getting the shorthand version of this, and there's time enough for you to develop this a little bit more, and you feel sometimes like you're rushing through the material instead of talking to us, which is strange because I think your voice has a lot of energy in it, and you sound involved in what you're talking about, and when you present the quotes, I think you do a very effective job at that, but it sometimes is just a little bit underdeveloped there, and as a consequence, it feels, like I said, I'm getting the thumbnail version rather than the full version of the speech. I thought you had a really good summary at the end of the speech to kind of indicate what it was that we were supposed to get out of the speech as well. So that part I thought worked well. All right, thank you.